I guess I think this is my specialty. Yeah, team picture or the yearbook.
They'll sit on the ground.
All right, thank you for joining us this afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Benner. I am the Public Information Manager here at the Portland Police Bureau. If you can't tell by looking at the assembled group behind me, this news conference has been in the works for weeks. In other words, it was not stood up and planned in the wake of what happened Monday morning. I want to make that very clear, but we understand that is top of mind for the community and top of mind for people in this room. So before we get started, I want to share some brand new details that I just got from PPB's lead detective on the case. And I want to start out by saying that this will be coming out via flash news here later this afternoon, so don't feel like you need to jot everything down right now because a lot of it has to do with suspect description, suspect vehicle, things of that nature. But we can describe the suspect that we believe is connected to all three cases as a white male between the ages of 30 and 40 years old, balding or very short hair, medium to thin build, dark shirt, thin face. And we believe this suspect has a wealth of experience in metal fabrication and welding. The vehicle, as we described, is most likely a Volvo S60 from 2001 to 2004. It has places on it that are more matte in color than a standard shiny finish, tan or light gray interior, an aftermarket grille with the Volvo emblem missing. It has dark wheels, an unpainted body trim, and no front license plate. Investigators believe it is very possible the suspect intends to continue these targeted attacks across the area. Again, that information will be coming out in the very near future this afternoon. We will field some questions about that, but we're also here primarily to discuss next week and the public order events that might come on election night and the following nights. With that, I want to introduce our first of numerous speakers, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler.
Thank you, everybody, for being here this afternoon. As we approach the 2024 election, it's important for all of us to come together and speak to you about Portland's commitment to supporting First Amendment rights while also being prepared to respond to any unrest. I'm certain that we all remember the impacts of Portland in 2020 after an extraordinary convergence of events, including the wake of George Floyd's murder, a trying presidential election, and of course, the global COVID pandemic. While these events left an indelible mark on many of us, it also taught us a great deal. And it also reinforced how important it is for all of us to be able to work together for the betterment of our community. Since 2020, our city has experienced substantial changes, many of which have already begun to positively shape the narrative for Portland's next chapters. Transitioning into our new government structure has strengthened our ability to respond holistically to the needs of our community and leverage the systems and the tools that we did not have in place in 2020. In short, we're in a very different position today than we were back then. As you're going to hear from many of our speakers, we now have a diversified, unified command team with a broader emergency management focus that includes a wide variety of local, county, state, and federal partnerships. We've been working for months on extensive and collaborative multidisciplinary planning to ensure comprehensive preparedness for multiple specific scenarios. And we have a strong alignment amongst leadership regarding our goals and expectations during any public demonstration. This alignment is grounded in strong support for lawful exercise of First Amendment rights, while also recognizing our broader obligation to ensure public safety for the entirety of the community. We all deeply believe that our community's right and ability to exercise free speech is paramount. And I also believe the vast majority of Portlanders want us to come together in a way that does so peacefully. And while I'm hopeful it won't be necessary, we are prepared to interdict criminal behavior if it should occur. We stand together today to demonstrate these commitments and ensure that the community knows that we're united, both in our efforts as well as in our expectations. We will do everything possible to protect people's First Amendment right to demonstrate peacefully, but we are also prepared to address anything that is related to criminal destruction or violence. I'm pleased to have representatives from the Unified Command Team here this afternoon to speak more about these efforts and ensure that you know what to expect and how you can find additional information. And with that, I'll turn it over to our next speaker, Chief Day of the Portland Police Bureau. Chief?
Thank you. I'm regularly asked two questions almost daily since I started a year ago. One is, what's going to happen on Election Day? What's going to happen during the week of the elections? I can tell you for the last year, the Police Bureau and the city, under the mayor's leadership and guidance and support of council, has been diligently working towards a level of preparation that I have not seen in my over 30 years of service. We've committed numerous resources to be able to support whatever is needed next week. And it's not just a matter of the Portland Police Bureau, but as represented by the men and women standing behind me, the regional, state, and even federal partnerships are stronger than they've ever been. And there is a unified understanding and belief, as the mayor said, that we want people to be able to express their First Amendment rights, but that we expect them to do those within the law. And we will do everything we can to facilitate that through our outreach workers, through our bike teams, through our various resources and communication that we'll be sharing on a regular basis. But I am so grateful for the support and the unification we have around this message. We've had numerous conversations with business leaders, community leaders, some of which you're going to hear from shortly. And that's really the second reason, the second question that I'm asked regularly is why in the world I would come back at a time like this. And it's to be a part of something like this. Literally a year ago, when my wife and I were considering the acceptance of the mayor's offer, this was top of mind for me, that we could demonstrate not only to the city and not only to the state, but really to the country, what I know to be true about who Portland is, about what we want to be about how we want to show up, the story we want to tell, and that we want to change the perception, and we want to create an accurate perspective. And that's what's happening here. I'm thankful for the men and women of the Police Bureau who are going to be accepting the cancellation of all their days off and time next week as we all work 12-hour days to maximize our resources. I'm grateful for the other regional law enforcement partners that are going to support us in that effort. We will be providing information through our Joint Information Center and trying to be as transparent and consistent and as current as we can. We are partnering with numerous other comms departments, communication departments, and various bureaus and other agencies. And as the mayor mentioned, finally, our unified command approach. This is not just a PPB-led effort. We're going to have, in a moment, I'll be introducing Shad Ahmed. He's our director from the Bureau of Emergency Management. We, of course, are working with fire. We're working with city leaders and really have the entire city at our disposal to be successful. So I'm really grateful for this chance to be a part of this. It's a chance for us to tell a different story about Portland and to continue to build upon the renewal that's happening every day in our city through our city leaders and through our community partnerships. Director Ahmed.
As the chief stated, there's a lot of coordination going on right now. The Portland Bureau of Emergency Management is coordinating across city services, community organizations, businesses, government. And emergency management is just a way of linking agencies together to make sure we're operating on the same page with the same information and really ensuring a streamlined response. As you'll see today, the city is coordinated across jurisdictions to ensure we are prepared for a variety of possibilities. And as the mayor said and the chief said, the city supports the peaceful expression of free speech, but there will be no tolerance for criminal activity. Federal, state, and local agencies, as has been shared, we are all in unified command structures that will ensure we are coordinated and ready to respond in the event that civil unrest occurs. We are actively monitoring. We will be ready to respond quickly and professionally should anything occur in the coming weeks. We're also working with businesses. We really want to ensure businesses are ready to serve and prepared and able to serve the community with minimal disruptions. So we're working with business partners as well. And just want to stress overall, Portland's emergency response framework is really built for this moment. As you heard from the mayor and the chief, we've spent a lot of time, invested a lot to getting to where we are today. We are united, prepared, and ready to provide a safe environment for all Portlanders. Thank you. And I will introduce the sheriff, I believe, is next.
Good afternoon. I'm Nicole Morrisey O'Donnell, Multnomah County Sheriff. First, I want our community to know that the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is committed to ensuring a safe and secure elections process. As with past elections, we are working closely with our elections office and our law enforcement leaders, and we have been for months leading up to Election Day, so voters can feel welcome and safe at all of our ballot drop sites. During the election period, we're deploying several resources, including uniformed and non-uniformed deputy sheriffs in marked and unmarked cars across our county, so they can be available to respond to any incident, as well as identify any concerns or activity that could be concerning across these locations. Staffing our main elections office with uniformed facility security officers who are welcoming voters, and they're also creating a physical safety presence during the business hours and ensuring that we have multiple resources to be available and in collaboration with all of our public safety partners and law enforcement partners to be able to respond if called upon. Any voter intimidation, disruption, blocking of access, or vandalism of these sites will not be tolerated. We will work swiftly. Any crimes that are reported to us will be fully investigated in coordination with our law enforcement partners, as well as with our federal partners when it's appropriate. I want our community to know that all of us here today have been working together to develop strategies and responses for keeping downtown and the surrounding areas safe should any demonstrations occur. I fully support the rights to assemble and to free speech, and we are equally committed to keeping our whole community safe. Acts of violence or criminal activity are unacceptable, and we together are prepared to respond quickly to ensure those who engage in criminal activity are held accountable. The community is truly our force multiplier, and we can't say this enough. If you see something, say something. Elections are fundamental to a healthy democracy, and safety is key to a healthy and thriving community. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to District Attorney Mike Schmidt.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Schmidt, Multnomah County District Attorney. Like my colleagues up here, I want to take this opportunity in the days leading up to our national elections and local elections to stand alongside these leaders and make it clear that while there may be some political tension in the days surrounding this election, regardless of the outcome, we want to focus on fostering a safe environment for everybody. Our office has met and continues to meet with law enforcement partners, and we're aligned on our commitment to appropriately investigate and prosecute criminal behavior. There's no place for violence or destruction in the lead up to or the aftermath of this election. And I want to confirm or affirm MCDA's commitment to maintaining a safe community. Make it clear that hate speech and violence of any kind will not be tolerated. And I'd like to encourage people to keep our community safe by respectfully navigating this election regardless of anyone's political ideology or affiliation. We especially ask this depending on no matter what the results end up being after November 5th. This election represents another opportunity for citizens to exercise their voting rights and their free speech rights, and I want to affirm our commitment to a peaceful and safe election here in Multnomah County. And with that, I will introduce Doug Olson, FBI Special Agent in charge of the Portland Field Office.
Good afternoon. I just want to reiterate the FBI works alongside with our law enforcement partners to keep our communities safe. In the past, this city's seen a concerning increase in violence, instigators breaking windows and making explosive devices, as well as other violent acts. This kind of destructive behavior creates life safety issues in our communities, and it also puts a strain on law enforcement, which makes our communities less safe. The FBI respects and supports the rights of individuals to peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights, but I just want to echo some of the comments of my partners. We have zero tolerance for instigators who exploit legitimate, peaceful protests to violate federal law through violence or other criminal activity. The FBI's way of doing business has long been working together with our local, state, and federal partners. Our goal is to maximize the impact on the community, and that's what we're doing here today. The FBI will always support our partners in keeping our communities safe. Lastly, I'd just like to ask the public, if you've witnessed unlawful violent acts, we urge you to contact local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, or anyone who can communicate it to people in a position of authority. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce Jessica Vega-Peterson, the Multnomah County Chair.
Thank you. Multnomah County is the government responsible for our local elections, and we are committed to the fundamental protection of our democracy. Keeping this election free, fair, and safe is a coordinated effort that involves the many leaders here today and many more across of all of our governments and offices. I want to thank everyone for everything that this community is doing to be prepared for whatever might come our way. As Election Day nears and our community continues to vote, there may be moments of uncertainty, heightened emotions, or unusual events like the one that took place on Monday. Elections experts, law enforcement, and partners here in Multnomah County are ready to respond. We continue to be ready for whatever occurs in the next several weeks. I am grateful for the essential hard work of the people who ensure we have fair, accurate, accessible, and transparent elections, especially when we see events like Monday or false claims of rigged elections and illegal voters, which are scare and avoidance tactics. Tim Scott at Multnomah County Elections and his counterparts in law enforcement have decades of experience fine-tuning, scenario planning, and improving our election system to ensure voter integrity and voter and worker safety. This is absolutely critical in every election, and especially this election. Following the events of October 28th, the Portland Police Bureau has asked officers to provide increased awareness and patrols of drop sites, and we at Multnomah County are taking extra measures to ensure the frequency of patrols day and night. We will continue monitoring the situation and will provide any additional resources needed to protect this election. This preparation will pay off post-election when we will be prepared across many systems to support this community and keep everyone safe. We stand together today to say that nothing happens between now and Election Day should keep you from expressing yourself with your vote. Our democracy depends on you, and you can depend on us to keep this process safe and secure. The best thing you can do to support our election workers is to vote early, so please keep those ballots rolling in. As of yesterday, we had received ballots from 22% of the Multnomah County electorate, and we're seeing high numbers by mail and in drop boxes. I ask you to continue every effort to vote and vote early if you can. Everyone at Multnomah County is working to make sure that this election season is a powerful demonstration of our shared values, showing that it's possible to engage in our democratic process while maintaining respect for one another in our community. On and post November 5th, that is the ask of you, to please demonstrate peacefully, but know that violent behavior, illegal behavior will not be tolerated. Now I'm pleased to invite Dr. Vernon Baker, a representative from the Communities Advisory Group, to provide thoughts on this election.
Hello, my name is Vernon Baker, and I'm one of the co-chairs for the Coalition of Advisory Groups. Layla Hijab, who's our other co-chair, she was feeling under the weather, so she's not here. CAG started in 2020, and its purpose is to enhance collaboration and support among duly recognized police advisory groups in the city of Portland, enhancing their ability to act as an avenue for collective community input to the Portland Police Bureau. the city leadership regarding policies, directives, and programs involving public safety. These advisory groups consist of the African American, Asian, Pacific Islander, American, Latino, Muslim, and Slavic. With the election approaching, it's very important for us to recognize and understand that safe elections and having the ability to vote, make your vote count in a way that will enhance your beliefs and your values is important, but also of being safe. By bringing us into their plans, Portland Police Bureau has given us the opportunity to come together as a collective group to work alongside them with various issues and things that are taking place within our community. In addition, we would just like to emphasize the following, that voting is our civic duty and responsibility and also our opportunity, so we want everyone to vote. No matter what your party persuasion or ideology is, it's still important to recognize that we are neighbors and we live together, and it's always going to be important for us to work collaboratively together no matter what our personal persuasions are. Then finally, being that this is an election that in likes that we probably have never seen before and maybe never see again, but it's important to understand that even in disagreeing, we don't have to be violently disagreeable, or in the words of Rodney King, just can't we all get along? Because we recognize and understand that there's several differences of how we feel and believe, but at the end of the day, we have to stay together in order to survive. So we just want to say that we encourage everyone to be safe, be informed, and have a voice of reason, voice of hope, and a voice of optimism. And with that being said, we want to bring Andrew Hone, Portland Business Alliance, and Portland Metro Chamber. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all the colleagues that are here today. I'm here representing the business community of Greater Portland, and clearly proud of the incredible difference that the past 4 years represents to the vibrancy of our community. We are experiencing a resurgence. This summer, we welcomed 2.4 million people to our downtown every single month. That is more than we've seen since before the pandemic. Our hotels are filling up again. Occupancy rates are above 70% during the week and 80% on weekends. Levels we haven't seen since 2019. We are now considered one of the top 5 job markets nationwide. We have a lot of progress that is being made, and it is a public-private progress that has resulted in all these good outcomes for our community. We've seen a 16% increase in new business openings, with especially strong growth amongst women-owned and LGBTQ-owned businesses in our community. Each one of these new businesses represents someone that's betting on Portland. But this progress is still fragile. Damage and past episodes of vandalism and violence don't just affect individual businesses. It impacts our entire city's reputation and our recovery. Every dollar that we spend repairing damage is a dollar that could have been invested in our community, in jobs and supporting workers, and building up Portland. So I want to be clear today that a call to action is out there. We fully support the right of peaceful protest. It's really in the DNA of Portland. But there's a bright line and a very clear distinction between peaceful expression and criminal behavior. When windows are broken, properties are vandalized, it's not just buildings that are damaged. It's the dreams, savings, time, and effort of every local entrepreneur who is investing in our city. It's the jobs of workers who depend on those businesses. It's the progress we've made in bringing visitors and investment back into Portland. We cannot allow the destructive actions of a few to undermine the hard work of our entire community. And that is why we've launched, I know most of you in this room have received, a sign-on letter, because we know that it's not just the responsibility of those that are standing behind me today to keep our community safe. This letter is a unified call for peaceful and civic engagement during the election season. There have been well over 100 signatories so far, from U.S. Senators Merkley and Wyden, Governor Kotek, Mayor Wheeler, and many of those behind me right now, state, local, national leaders. Additionally, it's not just about business. Business has signed on, labor, criminal justice advocacy organizations, community-based organizations, environmental justice organizations from across the region and beyond. And it represents
frankly, an unparalleled coalition of voices from across Oregon that are sharing one clear and simple message. We can passionately participate in democracy while protecting our community's progress. And it calls on all Portlanders and Oregonians to exercise their rights respectfully while supporting local businesses, resisting misinformation, and most importantly, looking out for one another during this important time. So Portland has shown what's possible when we work together towards a positive change. As we move through this election season, I urge everyone to join the growing number of community leaders who have signed this letter. Let's demonstrate to the world that we can engage passionately in democracy while protecting the progress that we've worked so hard to achieve in our community. And with that, back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Andrew. That was beautifully said. Thank you to all our speakers. We'll now open it up to Q&A, but I want to make a couple points first. When you have a question, please identify yourself by name and affiliate, and please address the person you have the question for. Also, I understand there will be some questions about the ballot boxes, but you need to understand that this is an open and ongoing and very, very active investigation. We will not and cannot say anything up here that will jeopardize that for a number of reasons, among them the fact that we believe this individual could continue these targeted attacks. We need to get him off the streets. So please respect that we will not be able to answer every question you might have. With that, Christina, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks. Christina with K2 News. This is a question for Doug Olson, as well as the sheriff, if you're able to answer it. Wanting to know those incendiary devices on the ballot boxes, were there writings on Free Palestine, Free Gaza on it, as been reported?
Yeah, I can't comment on what's been put on the news, but what I can tell you is, like, we're putting a ton of resources into looking into that, looking into the similarities at the 3 different locations. We're attached at the hip with our state and local partners, and it's like a top priority for our office. And I also say we need a lot of help from the public on this. So it's like one of these things. I think the police have been very proactive about pushing out information that we can about the investigation. So if the public, again, just to reiterate my message from earlier, if you see something, say something, and please feed that information back into the law enforcement.
When you say you're investigating that, do you mean the writing on those incendiary devices?
Just the overall investigation.
Can you confirm or not whether the writing was on the incendiary devices? I understand the integrity of the investigation, but it's been reported already.
I will add to that as well that we can only speak PPB for the one device that was located at the ballot box in Southeast Portland. It has been sent off for forensic analysis, and as part of that analysis, it will be examined for any sort of unique markings or writings. That is all we can say on that issue right now. McKenna. We have one suspect description to share, one suspect vehicle. At this point, we are looking for one individual. And again, the details will be pushed out via flash news later this afternoon.
Is there going to be a set policy for if there is civil unrest, kind of like in 2020 where there were kind of standards for when tear gas could be deployed? Is there kind of any standard for this? What happened?
Greg, you'd be ready to back me up if I could. Since 2020, a lot of things have developed that provide really clear guidance for the law enforcement response to civil disorder. There's been state law as well as our own Bureau directives that have been enhanced, done once again in collaboration with community and with Department of Justice. So I won't take the time to outline all of those, but I can assure you that lessons learned from then have been applied, and we've make sure that our policies and our actions are in alignment with legislative actions that were taken post 2020.
My question is actually for police, so it could be Chief or you better. Joelle Jones with Point 6 News. My question is that the Department of Homeland Security confirmed to Point 6 that they were in contact with law enforcement about potential threats leading up to the investigation, including the targeting of ballot boxes. My question is, was PPB did you receive any intelligence from the Department of Homeland Security?
All right, I can address that. So like every law enforcement agency across the country, we receive bulletins, whether it's from Homeland Security, whether it's from DHS. Some of these bulletins are for situational awareness. Some are in regards to actionable intel. And what I mean by actionable intel is a bulletin that suggests a suspect, an ID, a date, a time, a manner, a place. I can confidently say we did not receive any sort of bulletins regarding actionable intel. It was all for situational awareness. Our officers are aware of it. I can probably speak for the sheriff's office. Their deputies are aware of this. None of this sort of stuff is a surprise. I mean, just look at the fire suppressant inside these boxes. They're meant to handle situations like we saw Monday. So no, we did not receive any sort of actionable intel bulletin. What we received was situational awareness. We are aware, and that awareness is now heightened. And others can speak to this, but I can share that our officers will be providing extra patrols around ballot boxes in the wake of this as time and resources and workload allows. But again, that is just patrol. We will not be getting out of the car. We won't be stationing ourselves outside boxes. That is just something we will not and cannot do.
And I just want to add to that, you know, as recently as last week, we were having conversations both internally and with city leaders about the possibility of the events that occurred on Monday. So as disappointed as they were, and the fact that we weren't able to prevent them, but we were aware, we were having conversations, we were being strategic in that. So I agree with Mike that it didn't come as a surprise, it's more of a disappointment, but because of those steps that we've taken, we're so much farther ahead now, and to be able to be as transparent as we are with the information is unique. I think it's because we have been forward thinking in that.
Associated Press, this is for Chief Day. Are police targeting any known threats or chatter specifically targeting Portland? And if so, what groups are behind that chatter and what groups are you most concerned about?
Yeah, so, I mean, we are obviously very involved in the open source media like anybody else would be. So, you know, we're out there paying attention, listening, engaging, working with our federal partners, our national policing agencies. I was just at a conference last week with the 80 largest police departments in the country. We were having this very conversation around election preparedness. In terms of specifics, I'm not aware of any particular group or organization. There are things being posted on social media regularly, and, you know, as Mike said, we have to vet that between, you know, situational awareness and actionable. We can't jump at everything, but we do have a dedicated team of professionals that are following those postings and information sharing at all time. But at this point, it's not as if there's a particular group, one or the other, that we're looking at. It's a really holistic approach that we're taking, and I think that's demonstrated by the people that are up here. This is unique. This is, if you look around the country, what we're doing and how we're doing it is unique. It's something we should be proud of and something we should be grateful for. And it allows us to, I think, provide a more equitable approach towards these events. And we're not doing this because we believe something bad's going to happen. In the policing, our job is to mitigate risk. We can never going to eliminate risk. But we're not doing this because we believe something bad is going to happen. We're doing this because this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing for leadership and community to do, is to make sure that all of us can have a safe and reasonable and equitable election process, which is fundamental to our rights and democracy. Thanks.
Chief Day, can you talk about this joint committee that you were talking about for Election Day? How long is that expected to be stood up? Do you guys have metrics for when it could be winding down? And is it expected to impact day-to-day policing in any way?
Yeah, so, you know, we're just going to have to play it by ear. We've canceled days off for the whole week. We're going to have all hands on deck for the entire week. I'm so grateful to Superintendent Cotting and the state police are going to be supporting us in that regard, bringing in resources from around the state. I thank the governor for that support as well. So we are prepared for an extended period of time, and if we have to go beyond that week, we will. We've developed, under leadership of Chief Dobson and others, we have created numerous incident management teams. We have the capability now that we didn't have in 2020 to go for extended periods of time, to make sure that our members are fresh, to make sure that we have the resources because of the support of our regional law enforcement partners like Gresham and Multnomah County, and even those that aren't represented here from the other Tri-County areas. So really, I feel comfortable that we are in a position for a sustained event if we have one. Obviously, if we are a few days into next week and we are able to demonstrate that we can do both, have the exercise of free speech and peaceful demonstrations, then we can begin to stand down. The final thing I'll say in terms of police staffing The uniqueness about next week is we're going to have everybody working. There's going to be lots and lots of police visibility. And my direction has been that we will be out in the community. We are not going to be sitting in this room or sitting in roll calls or staging. We are going to be visible. We are going to be out and about. And largely, we're going to be out and about in a way that just demonstrates we want to be in community with our constituents. Portlanders want a relationship with their police department. We want to be able to share that. And next week, because of the amount of people we have working, we're actually going to be able to create space, absent a large public order event, for some of those relationships to grow and continue. So I'm looking forward to that.
Go ahead.
Hi, Joanna with the Land Week. I'm just curious to hear what you might do differently now than you did in 2016 or 2020. I know you already mentioned a couple of different changes with the police staffing, but if there's anything else, and then on top of that, what the biggest concerns that you have going into next week are.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is an example of it right now. Hone and I were talking beforehand, you know, some of this outreach and effort that would have been offered or could have been offered back in 2020 would have been rebuffed by various groups for a variety of reasons. And to see the diversity of unity that we have, diversity of unity, if I can use that term, is really unique. I mean, we have really across the board support. So that's one thing that's certainly significantly different for us at this time. You know, as I mentioned, the Portland Police Bureau has taken significant steps in the last 4 years, both with the independent review that was done, our partnership with the Department of Justice, and then our own self-critique and learning. The standing up of the rapid response team, the ongoing training, the transparency around that training. I mean, this month, I have to give hats off to Mike and his team. We have been communicating literally weekly with information, both internally and externally, and being as transparent as possible, and that's going to continue. So I think all of that, we've also sought, you know, outside counsel from other agencies, even international organizations, learning about crowd dynamics. I think all of that's going to feed us into next week. You know, folks, I'm not laying awake at night worried about next week. I mean, I really do believe, and I'm not Pollyannish, I'm not an optimistic kind of guy, but I'm a hopeful kind of guy, and I think next week is our time. Everybody's talking about Portland. Everybody's looking at Portland. Still, to this day, 4 years later, everybody wants to know how we're going to show up, how we're going to be. And I think this is our time, and it's represented by the great people all around this room. Will there be an event? There could be, but we're prepared for that. We're prepared for that.
Mike?
Mike with Channel 8. I'm not sure who would ask this, but in the past, there were many federal agents that came into the city and started policing on the streets of Portland and making arrests on the streets of Portland. Are there any plans that you know if they're here now, and have they been part of this planning process?
I've got things I can say to that. I don't know if you want to address that more specifically. Go ahead. I mean,
Sure.
no. I mean, what I was going to say is no. That's my answer. But you know, I'm gonna say no. But
we have federal partners, our local federal partners
right.
are here that we're working with.
Right.
But beyond that, no.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say no in the sense that we are not anticipating or asking for that. But at the same time, as Craig said, we're working with our federal partners regularly, but not from, you know, a request to have additional, you know, law enforcement officers on the ground, but from a more holistic standpoint. So we are not asking for, we are not seeking a repeat of that behavior from 2020. I'm confident that with the Police Bureau and with the state police and with our regional law enforcement partners that we can manage the events that happen in our city.
Yeah, you know, you provided some very specific information about the suspect. Do you have a name at this point, and how do you know about the welding and the fact that they're wanting to attack again?
Yeah, well, I wish I had a name. I'd give it. If we had a name, we'd be farther down the road. So no, I don't have a name. As far as the welding, what I've been briefed is that it's very detailed, as Mike mentioned. It's really quality. So this person obviously has some skills in that area. In terms of, you know, anticipating future behavior, that's, you know, a speculation. That's just what we have to anticipate. It would be really naive of us or unjust for us to say that, hey, it's all taken care of when we don't have him in custody. So we have to assume that there are other events that may likely occur. But I'm really encouraged at the work that's already been done by our investigators and our relationship with the FBI. I think we are farther down the road than I would have expected even on Monday.
To clarify, you mean the incendiary devices and the welding that was done
Right.
on those?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just looking for a little bit more police officers going to be around the Justice Center? Like, what exactly are they going to be doing?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, we're not going to have, federal officers on the street working, in the capacity we saw in 2020. We do have federal law enforcement in Portland, and so it doesn't mean, Federal Protective Service, for example, has responsibility for the buildings right around here. They have police cars, they have uniforms, so certainly members of the Federal Protective Service will be out and about as they are every day, 7 days a week. But what you're going to see from us next week is a lot of high visibility. And when I mean high visibility, that doesn't mean enforcement. That just means exactly what I said, high visibility. I want us to be out in the community. I want us to be walking around. I want us to be on bikes. I want us to be engaging with folks. This is not all hands on deck so we can suppress or enforce. This is really intended to be available in case something occurs. But otherwise, I want us to be out and about and just showing that presence. Interdicting behavior early, making sure people see us and know that we are here and we're paying attention. And we know from experience that often will defer bad behavior. It's really not rocket science. It's pretty basic that if we know that people are going to intervene and they're going to step into that space and say, hey, we don't find that to be acceptable, generally speaking, they'll go somewhere else, and then we'll be able to kind of just go about our day. So you should see a large police presence 24 hours a day for the several days, beginning the first of the week through next week. And hopefully it's just a matter of just being out and being about.
Douglas with Coin 6 News. We had a lot of civil unrest before, 100 days or so. Very little arrest. Are we going to be arresting people this time and actually prosecuting them?
Yes and yes. I think the DA's made that clear on the prosecution standpoint, and we will be making arrests. Now, as we talk about and we focus about civil unrest in the city, I've been here since 1990. I've seen a lot of civil unrest, okay? We have also had a lot of phenomenal examples of excellent exercising of our First Amendment rights. And we have brought about change through those peaceful demonstrations. It has happened. We can point to examples where the community has risen up and expressed their concern or their disagreement in a way that has brought successful change and resolution. So, I am absolutely confident that next week, that if there is criminal behavior, we will be making arrests. We are prepared for that, and we will be sending those cases to the district attorney. The district attorney will do his due diligence, as he stated, to review those for prosecution. We're working closely with the sheriff around the jail and jail capacity. I'm comfortable in speaking with her yesterday that we're going to be able to manage that as well. We are set up as best as we can be. We'll see what next week brings, but we are in the best position possible right now.
Troy?
Yeah, Troy with OPB. This is for Chief Day or Sheriff Morrisey O'Donnell. It's been talked about recently that the jails are at high capacity right now. You're referencing potential more arrests. I'm curious if there's been any movement since the lipstick meeting about how to handle the jail capacity right now and how to handle potential influx of arrests going forward.
Absolutely. First, I want to say, as sheriff, community safety is my top priority. We have been working diligently with all of our partners to ensure that we are mitigating population issues over this week and into next week and beyond. So we have great collaboration, as you're seeing behind me today. We have been working collaboratively on a multitude of issues, and this being one of them. So yes, we will have capacity, and we will be available to support the work of our law enforcement partners. So every weekend we do fluctuate in capacity based on what happens through the court process following a weekend. We're working with our jurisdictions that we may have individuals that we're holding for another jurisdiction to ensure that those are going to the proper jurisdiction, particularly during this time. And then we're working with our Department of Community Justice partners to evaluate holds and where people are within their stay at the Justice Center or Inverness Jail.
Back to the Thanks, Christina with K2. Back to the Homeland Security Bulletin, and this is for any law enforcement agency. There was also a mention of specific groups, migrants and other groups as well. Are you doing anything to reach out to those communities and let them know and make sure that those communities are safe as well?
Yeah, I can't speak to that bulletin specifically. Obviously, there's been a lot of information coming in, but what I can tell you is we have been very intentional in the last several weeks reaching out to as many groups as possible across the spectrum. You heard from Dr. Baker. We have a large representation of various groups, including immigrant and migrant groups that we meet with regularly. I've been meeting with them monthly for the last couple of months and sharing our details and where we're going and what we're about, and we really rely upon those advocacy groups to get out and touch others and bring that information back to us. So, that door is still open. We want to hear from people. If people have concerns in the community, we definitely want to be able to address those and speak to those and make sure that people know we are serving all Portlanders. This is really an inclusive effort, both in our approach to enforcement, but also in just our general service to make sure we have a good election season.
Is there increased security in those communities at this point, especially around their ballot boxes?
Well, the ballot box security and increased over security is obviously on the rise given the events from Monday, as you've already heard mentioned by the chair and by the sheriff, and I concur and support those. We are going to be doing the same thing, but there's, I don't know, somewhere north of 30 ballot boxes in the city of Portland. We want to make sure that they're all being well attended to. So whether it's, in a specific location, if we have, once again, that actionable information versus information that's just awareness, we have to continue to manage that resource to see what we're going to be able to do. But I'm confident that we are definitely increasing our attention around ballot boxes in conjunction with the sheriff's office, and then, of course, the more significant preparation for next week.
We have time for like 2 more, McKenna.
Okay. Chief Day, I know, these local businesses are already concerned about potential political unrest or civil unrest next week. Some already have plywood on their windows. I know you said you're not worried about this kind of stuff. But maybe a message to business communities here in Portland.
Yeah, and let me caveat, when I say I'm not worried, I understand that, I don't own a small business downtown. I'm very empathetic to the fact that they have an experience, they have a history. I understand why they're taking those steps. Frankly, it saddens me, but it makes common sense prevails. I totally get that. So I, want to be clear that that decision is an individual decision, and I think it makes sense in the larger picture of the concern and their experience. We have to have that individual responsibility to take care of our businesses or our property. But we're not boarding up the front of the police bureau. The Justice Center is maintained by Multnomah County, and there has been some decisions to do some board up around the Justice Center in general. But my position and our position for our city bureaus and talking with the mayor is we are not going to be taking those steps. Now, that can change. That may change next week. We may have incidents, and those that have taken those steps ahead of time will be a little bit ahead. We know that. But as I said earlier, we try to mitigate risk. We never can eliminate risk. But the confidence that I have in our community, the confidence I have in our law enforcement response, I'm really hopeful that that's not going to be necessary.
Chief Day, again, Claire Rush, Associated Press. You said earlier that you're not lying awake at night worrying about next week because your bureau is very prepared. But if you had to name your #1 top concern, what would it be for next week?
Boy, that's the toughest question of the day. My #1 top concern for next week, I would say my #1 top concern for next week is that we miss this moment. That we miss this moment as a city, as a region, as a state. This is, has already been mentioned, a significant election season, on a national level, but even on a local level. And, we've had 118 people running for office in the city of Portland and Multnomah County. And they have worked tirelessly to get to this point. And it would be so disappointing if the conversation next week and the headlines next week were about civil unrest and not about this exciting next step that we're taking as a city and as a community. This is an unprecedented change for us, and it's an opportunity for us to showcase, once again, what a great city that we have. And, the irony of even as I speak out loud is, as I said earlier, I am not a happy-go-lucky Pollyannish guy. I tend to see the glass as half full. But because of my experience and relationship with the people behind me and many people around this room, it gives me great confidence and great hope. I hope we don't miss that opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. I want to add a couple points before we take off. One is piggybacking the Chief's response to Troy's question earlier about our incident management team and how long that'll be stood up. As part of the incident management team and the incident command structure, we have what is called a Joint Information Center, also known as a JIC. This JIC will be stood up starting at 4 o'clock on election day. It'll be stood up again at 4 p.m. on the next day, and then it'll be standing up as necessary in the following days. That JIC will be filled by the PPB team as well as numerous communicators from across the city and county. You'll be hearing from us often with accurate, timely information. So know that we are alongside our command staff providing information to media and to the community as well. With that, I want to thank you guys for coming, and I want to thank everyone behind me. And to our photographers in the room, if you have not zoomed out yet and showed this crowd up here behind me, I think you should, because I think it's very impressive. I mean, we had a number of speakers here today, but we had a number who we could not accommodate due to time. Chief Goldberg from Gresham. We have TriMet representative. Director Williams from PBOT. We have Commissioners Ryan and Gonzalez. I think it's safe to say, and I think people in this room know, there are people up here who have disagreed on a number of issues in recent years, but we stand united in our call for a peaceful and lawful election week that is absent of any sort of criminal behavior that's going to harm this community and set this city back. With that, I want to thank you for coming and have a great rest of the day.